right. I
Hello.
think we're live. Hi.
Everyone.
Hello, Cindy. Hi, Ghislaine.
Hi, Khoi. Hi, Ghislaine. Hi, students out there.
Hi, everyone. Well, welcome everyone to Guest and Gusto, SCAD's virtual series and conversations and digital content with the creators and innovators remaking culture. My name is Khoi. I'm a vice president here at SCAD, and I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled to have Cindy Allen and Ghislaine Viñas for our conversation today. Excuse me. Cindy
He's
Allen.
so thrilled. He's like, he controls
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Cindy Allen is widely lauded as one of the most influential advocates of the interior design profession. With almost 2 decades as editor-in-chief of interior design, she's championed the industry, both promoting the giants of designs as well as the rising stars. She brings an unbridled passion to design that manifests in 18 print issues each year, a digital platform that reaches a global audience of over 9 million readers, and a robust events platform. Her dedication, with her direction and dedication, interior design is constantly evolving to best celebrate designers and their processes. Cindy has published 10 books on design, with the latest edition covering the decades of the industry's best. An early adopter of alternative platforms to share interior design content, she has also made over 90, that's 90, short documentaries on industry icons, including some of the biggest and best, Kengo Kuma, David Rockwell, India Madhavi,
and Paula Wallace.
President Paula Wallace, yes, just to name a few of the most amazing people out there. She's also a recipient of the 2009 Alpha Award by the Alpha Workshop, 2010 Circle of Excellence Award from IFDA, 2014 Open House New York Honoree Award, the 2015 Beverly... Man, this is going on and on.
Yeah, gave you a long bio, Khoi. I'm sorry.
Oh, this is great. 2015 Beverly Willis Architecture Foundation's Scroll Award, and the 2019 AIA Stephen A. Clement Oculus Award. Cindy has also served in her spare time somewhere, serves as juror of the Cooper Hewitt National Design Award and the Gensler Design Excellence Award. Among other things, she's also a member, a board member of the Alpha Workshops. She also chairs, she's also the chairman of the National Board of Design Industries Foundation Fighting AIDS, DIFA, where she is committed to helping those in need and galvanizing the design community to push the boundaries of what is possible. If you as all aspiring designers need to stay current and need to know what's going on, you need to follow Cindy. So please make sure you're following her at the Cindy Graham. So please, I look at that religiously to know what's going on, to get the pulse of what's up in the industry. So please make sure you follow. Say hi to Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hi. That was way too long. I really apologize.
No, it's great. It's great.
Mine won't be nearly as long.
Now I'm going to shine light on Ghislaine here.
Ghislaine
was born in the Netherlands and raised in South Africa. Ghislaine began her design journey studying interior design. After graduating and moving to New York, she launched her career designing commercial spaces and later establishing her firm in 1999 when she was given the commission to do a complete build out of a 9,000 square foot office and art gallery in New York's Chelsea Art District. Since then, the studio has published internationally for dozens of completed projects throughout the US, showcasing residential, commercial, and hospitality spaces. The studio has won numerous awards, not only for—
From me.
That's right, that's right. Not only for its numerous projects, but also for amazing products, including furniture, textile, and wall coverings. And so please make sure you also follow Ghislaine at Ghislaine _ Viñas. If you have any trouble, the name's on the title of our talk today. And please make sure you guys follow these two amazing women. We're really lucky to be able to have both of you guys here today. You guys are both recognized and celebrated for your own right, but I also want to take a second to point out that what an amazing friendship you both have that has spanned in many years. And I think we talked a little about this yesterday. It's really this relationship, I think speaks volumes about the commitment that you have to design, but also about the great example of how a friendship and networking are key to really the success of what is a very, competitive discipline profession. And last I'll say is that Cindy and Ghislaine success is due to not only their hard work, but also their passion. And frankly, just to be honest, it's because they're extraordinarily kind and generous people. They're some of my favorite human beings. And so we're just thrilled to have you guys. I'm kind of talking over myself. I'm so excited.
I know. And if everyone notices out there, Ghislaine and I did not plan this, and we're both in polka dots.
That's right.
And both in square necklaces with circles. So there's something in the air. And it's all going out good energy for these students that we were so excited to talk to today.
Yeah.
Khoi, I want to share how I met Cindy, because I have had my company for about 20 years. And the first project I did was commercial, and I had somebody shoot it that was like a student. I didn't have very much money. My second project was a residential project. It was a townhouse in New York City, downtown. And the photographer, Elizabeth Felicello, was shooting it for me. And I'd finally thought, like, okay, I'm going to put some money into this. I'm going to document this properly. And she said, oh, I know Cindy Allen. She's the brand new editor of Interior Design magazine. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, this is my second project I've ever done. Cindy shows up. She's so amazing. Like, just goes through the house and
I still remember it like it was yesterday.
I know, I did too.
I know.
And then there we go. My work was published.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And then she told me later, Cindy, you told me like much later, many years later, it wasn't such a great project, but the art was amazing.
I said to her, I only said this to her like years later when she could handle it, because the art was unbelievable, so modern. And Ghislaine, you're going to all look her up after. She's an amazing sense of color, and the color was there in little bits in the project. Like, I'm always looking for opportunity and to be able to kind of like mentor talent. And she had great photography. So, sometimes the photography helps make a space a little bit better than it is in person, honestly. And sometimes worse, it all depends. But I saw something in her, and then she just like really kept growing and growing, and she's just like an amazing talent. So I think I was right on that score.
Well, I mean, and it goes towards, saying what we were saying earlier, Cindy, that you champion not only the established great firms and design, but you're always looking for the next generation and developing and supporting them. So that's,
I mean, that's that's really the fun is the find. So if anybody likes to go out on the hunt for shopping, it's like doing that all the time. And you're looking for great talent, and you're looking for people that you can really support and who can develop their careers. I mean, the whole thing is interesting. Like, having the big relationships with kind of the best designers in the world, like Patricia Chiola, like Kengo Kuma, like those are things that you're really like honored to develop those relationships. But then finding the people nobody knows about, that's, that's the magic. All together makes the magic,
That's right. I see the connection
also,
now. Yeah.
I think if Cindy and I go shopping when we're somewhere, we'll try and find, whenever we want to go shopping too, when we're like in the same town together or the same city, we're never going to the obvious places. We're always trying to find like, can we do can we look in the garage of somebody who has a beautiful store? Can we go and look at their storeroom? Or can we do a gallery visit? Or can we like not what's up front? You kind of want to see what's behind there and see something that's a little bit less polished and more authentic. Sure. And I think that's the like looking for that special finds that the regular people don't get to see, and we get to tuck behind there and get dusty and dirty is interesting. For sure. You guys
are talent pickers. You guys are pickers.
Yeah, totally.
I see the connection. I know Cindy has a passion for antique shopping, and so now I can see how you love the hunt and where that all comes in. Yeah,
absolutely. Like when you go see designers, you'll start to meet manufacturers when you get out of you know, when you get out of your studies and you start the business. And I know if I go to a big manufacturer, I'll want to see the factory where they're making it, if it's on site, but I'll always want to see the back room where they discontinued some stuff, because there's always a treasure there.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Before we get into it too far, I do want to talk about, we have the poll question of the day. And so for our audience who are watching, please, it's going to pop up. So we'd like for you to vote for the topic that we're going to be discussing, in addition to the conversation we're going to have here. The first one is, what has been your creative outlet during the past few months? These are obviously questions for Cindy and Ghislaine to think about, and for our audience to vote on. The second one would be, who are upcoming designers to watch? The third one is, where do you draw your inspiration? Oh man, I think we should.
Oh my God.
These, right? It's gonna be a long conversation. There's so many great questions. And then the last one is, what are the next top trends in interior design? So I think these are totally suited for the two amazing people we have here today to answer. So please go ahead and vote, and then I will come back a little bit into the talk, and we'll announce the winner of which question has been selected the most. So you guys go ahead, and I'm gonna click on one, two. I wish I could click on all of them, but all right, so go ahead and vote. So I was just, while everyone's voting, I thought we'd kick it off and just jump right straight into the deep end here and talk about really, you know, sharing the keys to your success for both of you. You know, obviously you both have risen to the top of your practice. And what are the observations and takeaways that you can share with our audience today about the secret to your success? If Cindy, if you want to start us off, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Hang on, I'm going to close. Do I close? Can I close this thing? I'm going to close this thing. Okay.
I think, yeah.
You know, well, I'm sure we'll talk about it just in general, and just about like trying to find who you are, but feeling good in who you are. Because I think it's hard when you're in school, maybe in college like SCAD, it's easier because it like allows people to be freer with their own interests. But, you know, I definitely was a gal who was doing a lot of different things. So I had a father who was a math professor, so we had to do really, really good in school. Then my mother was English, so like loved English. So, and I was kind of this creative spirit in the middle of all that. And I was allowed to be that person, which was different than my entire family. But I learned work ethic from my father, who was the math guy. And I learned more creativity from my mother. But I do want to share, because I was recently had to do, okay, I'm not Alicia Keys, okay, so let's just put that out there, but I did have to do this virtual commencement speech for the University of Tennessee. And it was really early on, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to everybody without seeing them. And I told the story, which I think is really appropriate for whoever's listening in, who may be graduating or is going to be a junior, soon going to be graduating, is that when something like this happens, it allows you to give yourself a different kind of perspective on your life. And my first issue, Ghislaine, do you remember this? My first issue as editor-in-chief. So I became editor-in-chief. It was like such a big deal. And I was working on the first magazine back then. You didn't have a lot of digital stuff, so it really was just the magazine. And we go to press on a September issue, which was always our New York issue. And so we go to press on it, and I had on the cover this, actually color you would really like, Elon, this Kelly green cover, and it had like a desk on it. It was this dance studio in, Mark Morrison dance studio in Brooklyn, very cool company. I had these two paper mache heads on the desk, which Ghislaine, you would also really love.
I have two of those now.
Yeah, something like that. And it said Greater New York. So we sent the issue to press, and then 9/11 happened.
Right.
So it changed everything for me. And I mean, it changed everything for the world, but it made me really, I grew up. It's like I was going to be this editor-in-chief, and now I was really wanting to represent a community and care for a community. And it was that kind of like gravity of what was going on in the world that really changed my life. And I knew that my life would be more about service. And so I think that the designers are already going through problems that they're solving all the time. And so you're already getting a lot of experience being a designer just by going through this, because that is what a designer does, is solve problems at the end of the day. But I would ask you all, as you're going through this, is like, what do you really want? Because this is your time to really dig in deep and try to answer that for yourself, not for your parents or for your friends or anything like that, but try to answer it for yourself. Wow, that was a little very deep for a first question.
No, and Cindy, I want to add on to that. It's actually a really pivotal point right now. Anytime there's a massive thing that happens, yes, it's a chance. You know, it's a chance for this generation to kind of hit the restart button, right? And really define what the new landscape is. So I think that's a really great point. Yeah, it's all about challenges and how we solve problems. That's wonderful.
Right.
What about you? How do you feel about?
Yeah, well, I think if I had to answer that question, I think I think I had my success early on because I was fairly fearless. I still am. Like, I never look at something that I've never done before and go, I've never done that before. My answer is always, oh my God, I've never done that before. That's awesome. So with anything that I do, I know that I can somehow figure out how to cobble it together. You know, you can, you know, just being scrappy like that too, and by being smart. And then I also think that I genuinely did have a design voice that was different from what was going on in New York at the time. You know, New York was all about like dark woods and, you know, all that chocolate wood and these beiges, and that was not me at all. I was, you know, I was skipping and whistling and dancing and using color, and and my approach was really, really different, and it was really authentic. Like, it was not because I was trying to figure out how I could be a designer and not do all that stuff because I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. I didn't know, I didn't come from a background that, I mean, I came from, my home was always really beautiful. My mom is a natural talent for putting homes together. So I knew how important modern was, but I didn't have a good background. So I really think that there was something about being really naive and being able to work from what moved me in my heart, allowed me to put something out there that was different from, and I think that's what Cindy saw as well in the beginning. You know, I mean, I had to navigate that and figure out how the heck I'm going to get clients who would, you know, you don't have a portfolio, so you really rely very heavily on personality when you don't have a lot to show. And I think I think it is very difficult now to do quite that, because we are so inundated with images and trends, and so I do think perhaps it's a little bit more difficult to be quite that authentic when it comes to design because of what's around us. But still, I think like finding your voice and finding out, like really thinking, what makes me different from, you know, the 10 people in my class, or like, what do I have to offer that somebody else doesn't? Right. Can you just be truly honest with yourself? Can you be honest enough at this young age to say, I totally suck at this, or I'm really crap at this? Right. But can you say, even if it has nothing to do with design whatsoever, right? If it has if you just know that you can engage people, or that you can bring people together, or that you can lead people, or that, like, dig down deep and figure out who you are and create some structure about who you are. Because, you know, like probably for Cindy and I, we figured that out, like as a elderly woman right now. I think you are so much smarter than you used to be, right? I know so much more about myself.
I'm not elderly. What are you?
Only you.
I'm in my prime, baby. I'm in my prime. No, it's so true. Actually, so for the students out there, Ghislaine and I, the reason why we know Khoi is because we went to SCAD to give a talk together, and you know, we all had a great time too. It was like quite a few years ago, but I don't forget when you said that, Ghislaine. It reminded me of, we talked to a group of students, and they were asking about their portfolio, and we said, well, what makes you special? And then somebody kind of raised their hand or something and said, well, I really like to draw, but I don't see that in other people's portfolio. And we like jumped on that girl and we were like, yeah, exactly. So that's what you do.
Right.
Like you never, like show the talent, show who you are.
Right.
So true.
Yeah. Now, I want to unpack a little bit from what Ghislaine was saying about your work, Ghislaine. You know, when I think of your work, I think of words like sense of play, celebration, right? And a lot of it is very much indicative of how you view the world. How do you end up aligning that with your client's vision, or how do you bring it out of your client to get them to buy into these bold, you know, ideas that you have? Because a lot of the things you're doing is very authentic, one of a kind, unconventional. How do you get clients to be comfortable with that?
Well, in truth, you know, my phone is not ringing off the hook with people asking me to design for them. So it is because you draw a smaller
very specific
clientele.
Yeah.
Because you've done this, but it's the only way that I can work. I can't do anything else but this. It has to come from that. But then I think that you find clients who align with you, and then I think what happens with me is I have clients that I do so much repeat work for. So, and that's slowly growing. You know, I do have clients that I've done so much work for, and, you know, we sort of speak a interior design language that is truly ours, and you don't have to explain a lot. We just get it. And so that is kind of growing as far as my, also residential work turns to commercial work for those people. So it's a smaller niche clientele that you have, but it's very special, and it's about quality, not quantity.
I mean, one thing about Ghislaine that has always been interesting following her, first of all, it's so true. It's almost like her greatest strength is that she is that. And so people who are interested in going in that direction, like, feel comfortable. It does mean that it's not for the mass, but that she would never be for the mass. One thing that actually, Ghislaine, you could talk to this, that has changed for you, is that she started doing more product design. Look, I remember having conversations with her about, when you're doing product design, you can go to extremes as long as you also fulfill like a niche that a company needs. And so she can play with her colors, but as the line might have something that is a really an easier seller, or she wants to go her scale wants to go big, which by the way is popular right now, but her natural tendencies to go big, but she could also play with smaller scale that other people want to have in their homes. So I think the product design like opens up your world too, Ghislaine, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. And I remember, I think, Cindy, we had many conversations where I thought I wanted to do something. And I remember you always gave me such great advice, but I remember the thing that really sticks in my head is that you saying, just be patient. Just be patient, just be patient. And I think that's something. I'm not a patient person at all.
I know, me either.
I'm so not patient. But I think if you kind of put your mind to it, I have this thing. I don't know what Cindy, you probably are you are very similar. You do this as well. So you get this thing in your head that you want to do something, right? And then it like comes from nowhere. Comes this idea, like I really want to, I don't know.
Whatever it is.
And then you think about it and you go, okay, and then you forget about it. And then something comes up and something reminds you of like, oh, you really want to do that? Oh my God, I really want to do that. Oh, there we go. Oh, did you hear that? That just happened. Oh, and look at this. Yeah. Oh, and then something else happens. And then before you know it, you tell somebody that you really want to do this. And then, it takes a while, but eventually it happens. And then you're like, oh, how did that happen? Right. And then you have this idea, like Cindy, you do this as well. I know you have this idea that, sometimes you'll tell me you want to do something, and then lo and behold, 9 months later, I haven't spoken to you in a while, and there's a music concert happening, or this, like,
I know what you're talking about. Well, first of all, everyone out there, so we joked around that we were going to say that she was only going to talk about me and I was only going to talk about her. We keep talking about each other, but in the magazine world, like, so you'd have this would happen all the time, where we would have topics for an issue, and I would say to my amazing right hand, Helene Oberman, I'd say, okay, Helene, we're throw it out into the universe. The art issue is coming up. What's coming back to us? And all of a sudden, like boom, 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 amazing project, like it's true. You have to kind of put it out. You have to be out there, and you have to put it out there.
Mm-hmm. You know, you guys talk about Ghislaine going and kind of, I guess you could say, diversifying her practice with product. And at SCAD, you know, our students are lucky enough, they do have exposure to so many different disciplines. And a lot of our students do minor or double major in furniture design, industrial design. So Cindy, you see this in the industry. How common is it for a designer to go out and branch out like this and do, you know, team up with a furniture company, a carpet manufacturer? Can you talk a little bit about that and how?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, sure. We're always preaching to diversify, always, because if you're only doing residential and the market goes south, what are you going to do? And what's interesting about what's happening in the world today is that so many of the different categories of our industry are merging, right? So. Yeah. You know, an office looks like a residential project, or it looks like a hospitality project, and a hospitality project looks like residential. So that fluidity is happening, which is fantastic. In terms of product, that is like a hardcore skill, you know. And I've actually seen many like successful architects who are doing a lot of custom furniture, then want to start their own like branch in the business. And it's very hard to do. I have to say, it's very hard to do. What's better is having these relationships with manufacturers that you're specifying a lot of their product and you're creating these relationships with them. Then they want to work with you. First of all, you're specifying them but you're having these side conversations about what you don't see in the market or what you need, and that's how you start to develop lines with people that respect you as a designer, but also where you can help grow their business, which helps you grow your business. So one thing I would say is, yes, always hone your craft and diversify, but the relationships that you have are going to be everything in the industry. And you need to do that. I call the and so on effect. Keep gathering friends, keep learning, keep meeting manufacturers, keep like the and so on, because that's going to be those are going to be the people that surround you. That's going to be your community and your advantage too.
And you know, this, what Cindy is saying is so true. It's all about those relationships. But then, you know, for students watching or recent graduates watching, they're like, okay, well, what does that mean for me? Because I don't have an established, I'm not an editor of a magazine. I'm not a designer who has a business. But the truth is, and we were just chatting about this yesterday, was that relationships happen at every single level. Relationships happen when you're in school and you're reaching out, your involvement in whatever clubs there are or design. There is always a way to stick your neck out. There is always a way to get noticed. There is always a way to push a little further. And, you know, I have to tell you the story because when I went to visit SCAD, I was doing a tour with my youngest daughter, who is going to be going to SCAD in
She is going? Oh, that's amazing. Oh my God, that's amazing.
I know, I'm so excited.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so Saskia's going to SCAD. So anyway, we were doing a tour. We were all there. Cindy happened to be at SCAD at the same time.
Isn't that insane? They're at the same time, both New Yorkers. Crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I have this this young man, Joshua, who's giving me a tour, who's so impressive and so lovely. I'm like, wow, this guy is so great. So I say to him, listen, he's a photography major. If you ever need anything, like if you need me to just, you know, look at a portfolio or give you some advice or just call me up or just text me, I'm here for you. So I hear from him maybe 9 months later, or I don't know how long, 6 months later, and he says, listen, I wonder, you told me I could reach out to you. I have a friend, Claire, who is just graduating and she needs some advice, right? So this is a SCAD a student who just graduated, so a graduate, and she reaches out to me. We have this this woman is incredible. This young woman, she's talented, she's smart, I'm just fully impressed with her. And we've had several conversations and touched base, and I've been mentoring her on how to, you know, navigate the strange world we live in right now. So that's just, listen, and that in a way, that's me putting myself out there and saying, I'm available to you. But if you know, he didn't have to listen to me but when people say something like that, they mean it. So take them up on it.
Right.
People want to help. Cindy and I, it's all part, we want to help. And it's not just helping somebody who's at our level.
Right.
It's looking in that undiscovered talent and finding somebody who is so approachable and so special for whatever reason. You know, we want to be a part of that. So, you know, using Instagram or using social media to really reach out to people. You know, Cindy is incredible. Like on her Instagram, I don't know how she does it, but she's always answering and saying thanks, and you know, but you can have a connection. Like if somebody likes me or my work that we do, we see it on Instagram, because I'm not as good at answering as Cindy is, but I don't know. You know, I if somebody asks me something or says something, I'm going to reply. And all of a sudden, this designer who you like, or this person that you like, knows your name, and you just had contact with that person. Okay, that's not so hard. But I think that people don't realize how.
Yeah, and Ghislaine, on top of that, also, again, it's a different generation, but something I always talk to students about is like find those mentors. And they could be, some people can be out of your reach, like design superstars that one day you hope to go to the Milan Furniture Fair and meet them. But what I like to say is, like, get their books, read about them, learn about them. Don't just look at one project online and call it a day. Like in the old days, all we had were books and magazines. And the designers, when you fell in love with the designer, you knew everything about the projects that were published. Like you could almost specify the fabric off the sofa. Like that's how intimate it became. So I think you have lots of different ways to connect to people these days, and lots of different levels. But because you have access to everything, it also has a way of being fleeting. So find some people that really get you excited and passionate about your career, and dig in.
That's great. And that's a great segue for us to, I want to roll out our winning question for the day, because I think it's really about what you're talking about as well, which is for both of you, who do you see, what are the next trends that are happening within our profession? You know, you're saying dig deeper into what people are working on. Where do you see our profession evolving, and how do you see it evolving to the next level?
Well, I mean, I think that's the thing that's happening right now, right? Right now. You know, I'm sure you have a wide variety of different kinds of practices that the designers are studying right now. But like, for instance, health and wellness will be in everything. Will be in absolutely everything moving forward, any type of project. And, you know, that kind of feeds into, like, you know, 15 years ago, you bring up healthcare, and it's like a snooze. I hate to say it. Look, it changes people's life. Now people understand how significant it is to feel good when you're in a crisis, when you're in a hospital. I just published an incredible cancer center in New York that looks like a hospitality project by iCrave. Well, it's a few firms, but iCrave did some of the cool stuff that you really want to see. Unbelievable. So health and wellness is really, really big. You know, workplace, it's so funny, at the beginning of my career, like, you know, workplace was, you know, a bunch of cubicles and a conference room and, you know, a reception desk with the flowers on it, you know. Now, like, everyone wants to talk about workplace. And right now we're trying to figure out what is going to happen, you know, what's going to happen with workplace. But the fact that the hospitality workplace and this idea of health and wellness is really, it's in everything that we're going to be doing. So in that respect, it's a very, very exciting time right now for the designers, right? And then also just what's happening in the world in terms of sustainability, and this generation really like caring. You know, again, years ago, it was sometimes a certificate on a building. Now
Right.
people really, really
Right.
care in a way that's going to change everybody's life, right? So I think there's this generation really, that activism is going to bring around great change. That's going to really be exciting.
Yeah. And once again, to your point about digging deeper, Cindy, it seems like with sustainability, it's not just a surface treatment anymore, right? It's about digging deep, like life cycle. What's going to, not only is it about net zero, it's about net positive. And
Yes.
so it's really interesting.
Yeah. Lee Edelcourt, she's somebody you guys should look up. She's an amazing, say trend forecaster. She's so much more than that. She's really a leader in the field. And she talks about something all of these students would be interested in, just like the new boom of the handicraft, because now people are getting back in touch. It's almost the yin and yang effect, with more technology, then more we want something that is handmade. And like Ghislaine is a perfect example. She's always looking for that one-off or that thing that's special. She makes things, she has people make things. That is going to become, I think, that growth of these small cottage, somehow we're gonna have to figure it out, but these small cottage industries are happening and are burgeoning all over. And it's gonna create like new language for design.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you took that answer. That was like, wow, that's, I mean, it's perfect. I think this activism is something, especially with young students, that's going to change everything. There's also an empowerment of young people right now. They have so much power. I think our world is going to pivot the way that we know things. We're all just going to pause and pivot right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the technology. There's like this technology that we're working on today, but then also people are also honing in to crafts like we've never seen before. I mean, it almost like the world stopped and everybody was like, oh, right, there's hobbies. This is what people do. And before, people were just too busy to do anything. And you were always wondering if somebody did actually make something. You're like, where on earth do you find the time to do that?
Right.
Now we are actually doing that. People are baking. People are going back to old-fashioned hand skills. And it's
amazing.
A beautiful thing, I think that people are also being more sensitive. They really are working from a place from their hearts and doing, I think, trying to do the right thing, doing the thing that feels good and feels right. I have a woman in my office, a designer who's vegan, and I know she's really interested in just veganism and vegetarianism. And then I saw that there was a vegan design course, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. I'm going to do it with her. So we're going to take a vegan design course together just to show that sensitivity towards animals. And I think that's so interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I make a quick observation. You guys talk about celebration of the hand and the handmade. Cindy, in the back of there, your screen, I believe, if I know correctly, it's kind of, you have to put it together by hand, even if it was cast or even if it was machine made, because of the intricacy. And that's what we really celebrate and what's beautiful about that piece. And Ghislaine, that art piece in the back of on your wall. I mean, obviously it's an original and celebrates. And I think you two definitely gravitate towards that. Even the things that you're wearing around your neck, and it's amazing. We were talking about, speaking of handmade, so we were talking about the open studio and how you were looking at work for your clients. Can you talk about that idea again of like going after original pieces and finding artwork that to share with your clients and share with your audience, and how that process works for you?
I think it's one of the most challenging when you're doing residential or commercial work, or I feel like the project, you can only do so much with furniture and finishes. But I feel like the real soul of any project just really comes through in with the art. So I think what we do is so tied into working with artists and finding artists that we love. But I find it very, very difficult particularly on residential projects. It's easier on commercial projects or hospitality projects, but on residential projects, it's very, very hard to align, to also, furniture is one thing, and the vibe and feel of the home is one thing. When it gets to art, you're usually dealing with two people having to select pieces, which is hard enough. And then I have a very strong aesthetic of things that I like, but I also know that when you look at something, it may make you feel great, but another person may just not be feeling the same thing. So art is very, very difficult. I am very lucky to have clients who have incredible collections, who are themselves, established and well-known collectors, and curators. But it's very challenging, and it can make or break a project, and it's a very personal thing as well. So it's tricky for sure.
It's one thing I would say, just on sort of the editorial side, is that if you're a student out there who's also a maker and doing things, whether it's on the side or you want it to be part of your practice, the one thing in general that I see when makers come to see me is that they may be making something that they think it's for a residential project, or they're thinking, I'll just say it, the scale is small. And in order to get it out there in the world in a bigger way, I always say scale it up, because it could be an amazing, let's say, macrame or hand woven for a lobby of a hotel, so sometimes something's an object, right? An object, but you want it to be more of when it becomes an installation, that's when more people get to see it. And when more people get to see it is when you get more work, especially if you're talking about more commercial.
Another thing is that if you have a daughter who's a painter, you can use her paintings on.
That's pretty good.
We did do that on the last project.
That's wonderful.
That's pretty good.
That's great. Cindy, in your work, you see so many different designers, right? The established ones, the new. I mean, and you have heavy responsibility. You're kind of burning on your shoulders. It's like, what direction does the profession go? How does that work? And how do you look for direction? How do you move the conversation one way or the other?
I mean, I think that our responsibility is to be a mirror of what's going on. So our responsibility is to know what's going on. So we're like this sponge. We are always out in the industry, whatever category, whether it's healthcare, hospitality, residential, we try to be the experts on it, so that when the needle starts moving one way, we can support that and move the industry along too. So the responsibility, the responsibility is the pleasure, because we feed on, knowledge and design. So I think that's what makes interior design so special, is that we sit in the center of this industry. And so people come to us to share all the time. And, that whether it's making a magazine or doing a big event, it's the biggest pleasure, right? So, and it goes back to this thing about that I really believe in, is this gathering thing, so I have to gather a lot to even make one issue of a magazine. But I'm constantly, for me, it's kind of the perfect kind of job for me, because I'm really good at seeing this and bringing this in. I don't know how to explain it other than that. It's like a puzzle that I'm always trying to fit together. But I think the more knowledge you have about anything, this is why I say, if you're interested in something, go deep and learn everything you can, because a new idea comes out of that, And I try to, and one thing that I always say, and I say to my editors too, let's keep something open. Let's keep it open in the air till we can't anymore. We have to close it and move on. So I like to live in the open. I like to live in the world of possibilities and find creative ways to match people up, to match ideas up, to match product with people, to, you know, like that's my passion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And Ghislaine, what inspires you? Where are you finding your inspiration? Where are you finding your sources that enrich your practice?
I think, I think that it depends on the project that I'm working on, but I think it's a lot about storytelling and sort of having fun with the story that we create. And sometimes we do that with the clients on commercial projects or hospitality projects. It becomes more of a story that we tell. That story then starts to tell about color, or tell about it informs us on pattern, or so it just really is like creating a story, and that's what makes our interiors unique as well, I think, because they're very specific stories for our clients. So, you know, the other thing is, you know, travel, obviously, going places, digging deep into cultures. I got a lot of flack for going to places for a long time, and
I'm working. I'm always working.
Working, and I'm always traveling and having fun.
She's on a bike somewhere all the time.
Yeah. But you know, but it's I do that, one, because I love it, and it's the reason why, truly the reason why I exist, is because I want to go places and I want to see things and I want to see how people live and I want to engage with those people. So it is my guilty pleasure. Some people have shoes. I whatever it is.
She has cool shoes.
I know. So I think it's that storytelling that inspires me, and that sort of, I have a little bit of a wacky thing about me, and so I think that's a little bit. Yeah. And so that's what I enjoy. It makes things very special, and the more we can go into that on any project, and the more everybody can just I can amuse myself, I think the more specific and the more unusual the projects become.
If I could add to that, because for the students out there, what she's saying is so critical, because she's, Ghislaine has the luxury of some amazing clients, and being able to really, really play up this narrative of a project. But many times when you're going in front of a potential client, you need to have a narrative. You need to have a story to get the job. So it is really critical in your design thinking that you develop some sort of narrative around the project, and get to know your client too. So you're like feeding into a narrative that you love, but is good for your client.
Cindy, can you? Oh, go ahead, please.
You teach that in school. Like, I think that, but I think there's some kind of disconnect that happens when you go to the workplace, that people forget about that, right? It's like, because I know that every project that you approach in school, that the students are approaching in school, it has that narrative. But then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, that gets forgotten so often.
Yeah. I think it's like, we think we need to kind of put on our adult hats all of a sudden or something. Like, we forget to celebrate things and to tell stories. At SCAD, we really work hard to help our students learn to craft and learn to communicate. And we have communications coach that come and help them, in writing and in the way they verbally express their ideas. And can you guys give some advice on communication and how to get your message across to your audience, your clients, your friends, your manufacturers, all the variety of audience that you guys work with on a daily basis?
Well, it's definitely a tool, and you have to season yourself as you go along. What I would say is, because it's something that happens, what you were just saying, Ghislaine, is that you may, and I'm glad to hear, because I didn't know this, that SCAD does like try to develop these narratives and these stories, which is fantastic. But when you also have to document it. So I can't tell you how many times someone sits in front of me with a project and they say, well, the whole thing was about nature, let's just say, you know, and you cannot see it anywhere. They're like, the reference is in the back and they didn't take the picture of that, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I want to document it as, you know, I see it like a little mini film clip that now the film clip could be online, but in print, it's almost like that too. So who is your audience and how do you kind of document or communicate that depending on who the people are you're talking to? And I think that's the thing. You have to, you know, no matter what I do, I always say, who's the audience? Who's the audience? Who am I talking to? How am I presenting it? Like everything is custom that I do, because invariably whoever I'm like either presenting in front of or talking to a large group, they're all different. So I don't have a stock presentation ever. Right. But who's the audience? Who are you trying to get the job from? Who's the client? Like, how are you going to communicate it and find different ways to do it?
Mm-hmm. I've been lucky enough to be at some of the events that you've hosted. And even when you're speaking to hundreds of us, it always feels like there's a direct conversation. And I think that's one of the gifts that you have and both of you, of when you engage with people, you really are focusing on them. And you like you say, you cater the conversation or the matter to that person. And I think that's really effective in the way that you talk about your ideas. So, yeah.
Thanks, Khoi. Thanks, Khoi.
You know, I think also it's a way that you, I've been mentoring some students who are trying to do Zoom interviews and helping them select what they're going to wear. I know it seems silly, but you know, the first thing that they want to do is put on something that's not them.
Not them, right?
What they think is professional, and I'm like, nope. Let's go back into your closet, and know who you're going to be put in front of. If you're going to be in front of a New York City, boutique firm or a bigger firm, New York is very Black centric. So wear like something Black, wear something stylized, don't wear something that you're going to throw somebody off because you've decided to, you know, just really get down to who you are and try and, I don't know, you've got to show that you're an individual, but you've got to show that you also have your style has to come through.
Right, and that you respect who you're going to be in front of. I think that's the thing, because I think that advice is really good. By the way, it happens all the time, like sometimes for like Hall of Fame, or I liken it to a wedding, you know, like all of a sudden your friend who never put her hair in a bun in her life is like in some do, doesn't look like, you know, it happens sometimes for people who get inducted in the Hall of Fame. And now I always say, like, even though it's dressy, be you. I don't care what you wear, be you.
Yeah.
Doll it up too much.
There you go.
Doll it design, don't doll it up.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Well, we're coming upon the end of our hour here. I know. I'm sorry. I need to keep better track. Can you guys give us a parting advice on our students who are about to go out into this new? I know you've given great advice in the last hour here, but what are the essential things that they need to continue to hold on to? What are the things they need to evolve in order to be successful in our discipline?
I mean, one thing that I see that I didn't get to say is that it looks to me like our two generations or three generations, like we're starting to merge a little bit because of the pandemic. So for instance, all of the older folks who've never been really that friendly with technology now are doing all these Zoom things. Folks who are really comfortable just on their iPhone all the time really need human connection. So I think it's a time to really appreciate the diversity of our world and our craft, and to be positive. I mean, we're going to get to the other side. Please be positive. One thing I would say, because I know there are so many issues out there right now, and there's a lot of hurt and hate, is that design does not discriminate. And design loves every color of the rainbow. When I pick a project, I have no idea who designed it first. I always look at it just in terms of great design. So know that you're going into an industry that is very, very open. Is there work we can do in lots of different ends? Yes. But know that who you are is beautiful, and that design loves everybody.
That's great.
Okay, so
Right?
that's
Right?
It is true. It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that this is such an unusual time and so unique that you have to put your thinking cap on and do something that really takes the situation, throws it on it, you know, turns it upside down, and have something really positive come out of this. Like,
Positive, yeah.
this is a time like never before. We can think like we've never thought before. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what it means, but it is what are the opportunities for people right now? What do people need? What can we look at that we've never done before? What are the items we've never designed before? You know, one of the things that occurred to me is that you see so many of these Zoom calls, right? And you always see people's backgrounds. I am flabbergasted sometimes with what people have decided to put in their background. They're on national TV, and they'll have like a sink or something. There'll be like a sink with a thing, and I'm like, is this not?
Right, are you a designer?
Right. For designers to say, you know what we do? We set up really beautiful backgrounds for you in your home. Not only that, we do 2 or 3 for you. There was a dude who had his bed and a laundry basket. I
can't believe that.
I was like, hi man, there's a laundry basket. Like my husband, he was like, yeah, you always hate laundry baskets. I'm like, I hate laundry baskets. Like, really? This is the best thing did you think about this at all? Like, so I think there's an opportunity about these backgrounds. There is, you know,
just as you said, Ghislaine, it's like really important to represent who you are in every single way, in every way. Like we're all judging everybody's backdrop.
Yeah,
that tells us something about who you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, be who you are, and like get it out there into the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a terrible time, and it's an exciting time.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely. Well, I think we'll.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Cindy.
No, I said they couldn't have picked a better school to allow for like to unearth their like creative. You know, their creative juice, and to go on these roads, because I know Paula, I'm just such a big fan of her. She just allows people to go on their path. So just keep going on that path, kids.
Yeah. To continue to tell their story. That's key. Yeah.
And also carry that SCAD, that beauty that SCAD has, that environment that so much is, you know, it's so much. You're not just teaching, but you're showing that you really truly believe in design. Because on the SCAD campus, I mean, you know, it is a magical, beautiful, inspiring place that is not that, you know, it's hard to compare it to anywhere else, because it is so magical. And so for all those students going back very soon, they are going back to campus, and to all those people who are going out into the world, and you know,
be a B, right? Or you're a B, right?
Be a B, yep.
Be a B. Be the
Once
best.
a B, always a B. That's right. That's right. Well, we look forward to Cindy. You better come back soon.
We will.
Ghislaine, we're going to see you in September, and thank you so much for your time and
thank
your knowledge.
Khoi. We love your friendship. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we really want to send this good energy out to all of you students.
Thank you.
Yes, good energy. And virtual hugs for Khoi and Ghislaine.
Yeah, Khoi.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Everybody.
Take care. Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Khoi.